Welcome back to the Open Up podcast, everyone. It's episode 55 with author and counsellor Connie Boglis. Thanks for taking time to do this.
Hey, Lachlan. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me, and I hope my voice holds out today.
It's got a little bit of authority to it, that raspiness.
Yeah. A bit like that, that's right.
So straight off the bat, can you describe yourself as a woman and a human for us, please?
Yeah, I guess I'm somebody who never really holds back when it comes to emotions, when it comes to saying things as they are, and advocating for what's right, you know. So off the bat, that's who I am as the personality. I think as the person, I'm a counsellor and a youth worker in Melbourne. I've worked in the industry for a long time, I think about 15 or 16 years now. And I never did the, local council group camp type thing. I went straight in there. I went into the prison system. Wow. I worked with the kids that kind of, needed the most love and support. And that's where I thrive, where, people allow me into their most vulnerable space. And that's really rewarding to be able to do the work there. So that's a bit about my background. I'm a youth worker and counsellor. But personally, my lived experience is that, I had a partner who was a veteran and committed suicide in 2017. So I've been advocating to the government alongside his family for better conditions for veterans and families to be able to, I guess, bridge that gap of transition support and mental health support for them to be able to just get on with life.
That's awesome.
So, and in between all that, I wrote a book.
It's powerful. It is powerful.
Thanks, Lachlan.
Pain to power. So in terms of you being a counsellor for so long and going straight into that prison system and helping youth as well, were you someone who was brought up to be this empath or to provide a space, a safe container for people to open up to you? Or was this something that you learned?
No, I think I was always that person. Like even my mum would say, in primary school, I was always the one that would, try to separate my friends who were fighting over a Barbie doll or something. When I was 17, I sat there with the VTAC guide in front of me, and I looked at my mum and I just started crying. I'm like, I don't know what to do with the rest of my life, And I said I could be a chef, but man, I love food too much, like that'd sit straight on the hips, And she said to me, well, why don't you become a counsellor, And I literally had to look it up. Like we didn't have phones that had Google, right? I had to go Wi-Fi dial-up. So, I'm like, counsellor, okay, cool. So what? You get paid to talk to people about their emotions? Like, I do that in my sleep, So, and the rest is history. Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know if you have any thoughts on this, but especially for me as a kid going through high school, not being aware of my own childhood trauma or maybe bearing it subconsciously, the stereotype of a counsellor wasn't really someone that you went to for help. It was more a case of someone you were sent to. How do you view that stereotype? Or because I've been someone who's gone to a counsellor for sexual abuse or been introduced to sex early, and I found a counsellor so much more helpful, just because I could relate to them and resonate on that level with them, and I felt comfortable with them. What's your view on being a counsellor as opposed to a psychologist or something like that?
Yeah. I guess what really drew me to I started my degree with a youth work background, and then I tagged on to the counselling, and for me it was more because I didn't want to throw theories at people, and I absolutely believe there's a place for all of this, counsellors, psychiatrists, all of them, but for me it resonated with me better to kind of be that professional friend.
Yeah.
A lot of my counselling sessions with kids would happen at a basketball court. It would happen at Macca's drive-through.
That's cool.
It would happen, that. That's how I connected with the kids on their level.
Yeah.
very, very rarely did I rent out my office room and have a one-on-one session with them in an office. It was their choice. With the girls, I don't know how many times I painted my nails and got a facial, but that's how you connect. You've got to build that rapport. You've got to build that trust. When I was a kid going through stuff, I went to a private school and we had nuns who were our counsellors, and they were older than mum and dad, and so for me, I found that really hard to kind of connect with them if I was, bullied on the school ground or something. It was that whole sticks or stones breaks your bones, names will never hurt you type thing. So I always find that, get in the blue jeans, get on the ground and just connect on a kid's level. And that's how it works for me,
Cool.
Yeah.
And have you been happy in that role?
Oh, absolutely. It's not work for me. I get up every day and it's something I love. It's my passion. It's who I am. So it's easy. To get paid is a bonus,
That's amazing. That makes me want to cry. Legit.
Oh, don't cry. Then I'll cry.
Dragon tears.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess moving on to the story that you're here to share, and you touched on it briefly just before. Are you okay walking us through that?
Yeah, sure. Where would you like me to start?
Wherever you feel most comfortable.
All right. So a lot of people, I guess, know my story, but I was a partner of a veteran who was deployed to Afghanistan, and in 2017 he took his life. So I was Jessefaced's partner for 2 years, and during that time it was really difficult to support my partner. I guess the government didn't really at that time acknowledge the need for mental health rehabilitation to the extent it does now. I think it was a real difficult time for us to navigate that system, because whatever supports were available, Jesse was still struggling to even acknowledge that he had PTSD, that he had depression, that his world was kind of, changing and not for the better. It's really hard to be a partner in that space, and it's really hard for Jesse to find, I guess, happiness in a way to connect, and translate his life into a world that is not known to him. He was unemployed because he just couldn't get a job. Once he had a diagnosis, once he, once the army deemed him, a certain kind of level, a certain kind of diagnosis and label, so to speak, and medicated, he wanted a job that was helping others still when he came home. So he applied for jobs with the Australian Federal Police. He applied for jobs at the Fire Brigade, and he got so far. He got right to the end. But as soon as they do a medical and they see that he's diagnosed or he's medicated, they didn't take him on. And so he was met with a lot of red tape there, just trying to get on with it, I guess. But then our relationship took a hit because his depression increased and he was more isolated. And it took so long for the Department of Veteran Affairs to even, process his claim for mental health conditions, that wartime exposure, you and I so easily know that there's people are impacted by that.
Yes.
But it took our government something ridiculous, a few hundred days to even process his claim, to acknowledge that he went to war for 9 months and there was no acknowledgement. So, I've been advocating in Canberra for the last few years with Jesse's family to better and change these conditions for veterans and their loved ones and children especially, who witness all of this. And, they see what happens inside the family home, but who do they have and how do they express their emotions? And so I guess tying into my book then, it just felt right that my book, should come out now. it was healing for me to, I guess, put pen to paper during this time of grief. But I also wanted to honour Jessie, and it just reignited my passion to want to continue to push for advocacy around children and families, and helping children to express their emotions and not needing to bottle it in, because ultimately suicide is such a hard time for an individual, for families. It's such a difficult process to go through in a state of grief and to acknowledge, but how hard it must be for individuals who are contemplating that, and that helplessness and hopelessness and isolation. And so it just felt right to bring Once Upon a Feeling to life at this point.
A couple of questions about your story. Obviously, like, you being a counsellor, being someone who is this empath, who can provide a safe space, who can help people, especially with these emotional issues. Did you, I can imagine I would feel like I was letting my partner down. Like, did you have to go through any of that throughout that process?
Oh, yeah, all the time. And what was really hard is that we were isolated, Lachlan, in a sense that there wasn't a lot of services for us that existed. And so for me, it just kept feeling like I was hitting brick walls. They think, you know, it's assumed just because you're a clinician yourself that you have a magic wand approach, you know. That's not the case. You know, I'm human too. And my situation was so different in that, you know, my partner didn't have the supports available to him around the services to support him. You know, he needed monetary acknowledgement, he needed mental health acknowledgement, and this was all in a stream that was specific for veterans. So as much as I wanted to help, Jessie also didn't want me to do a lot as well, because it was that shame as well. It was that, you know, this is something that, you know, is not yours, Connie. It's something that, you know, I need support from the government on. And so it's really difficult to sit back, but I tried so much just to be his partner for the majority of it, because he needed me to be that for him.
Yeah.
And it's a really difficult juggling act, but, you know, we did it for as long as we could.
Did you ever feel guilt throughout that process or afterward?
Absolutely. You always feel that. Even when it's somebody who just passes, you know, sometimes it's, did I say enough? Did I tell them I loved them? You know, was I there for them? I think with Jessie, we separated, and then I found out that he had suicided. So I left Jessie still very much in love with him and hopeful that the hospital-based service that I referred him to was, I guess, supporting him and rehabilitating him, and he the same, so that we could come back together down the track. So for me, that's how I left that relationship. I always still held on to the fact that there could have been something there, but I found out later down the track that, you know, Jessie continued to further withdraw from family. He blocked me out. I didn't know where he moved to. Same with family. And I had no idea of contacting him or finding out where he was. So that was really difficult. But I guess I know I gave Jessie in our relationship everything I could have. And to this day, 2 years on after he's taken his life, I'm still in this space, hoping I'm making him proud in doing this to help others access support. So, yeah, I don't blame myself, but I do want to give people a voice, and I want them to see that there's so much support out there now that we're pushing for, and that they can also come forward and speak their truth, to know that these services do exist. But if they're not perfect and they're not working for you, well, let them know what does need to change, because the government's at a space now where they are listening to us. They have to listen. We've pushed for this a lot to make changes for the better use of the community and their needs.
I don't think you have to hope at all that he's proud of you. I think you'd 100% be proud of you. You're doing amazing work considering what you've been through. And I'm sure a lot of people in the same situation are grateful to have someone like you as a vessel for this message.
Thank you.
I'm sorry to touch on this again, but I think this is important because people who go through similar things to this insert themselves into the story and harbour guilt. How did you go about like relinquishing that or that blame?
A lot of healing, just a lot of time to heal. And I went within a lot. I'm quite a spiritual person. A lot of people probably don't know that about me, but that was part of my journey in forgiving myself, in grieving the loss of Jessie. I actually went to New Zealand on a holiday, and Jessie was cremated in the ocean, and I never got to attend his funeral or that. I was actually overseas at the time when I found out Jessie had lost his life, and so I wrote to him. I meditated. I spent time in the water. I just connected the way I know how, and for me, that is how I felt that my relationship with Jessie is now different. We never forget them, Lachlan.
Yeah.
It's just that our relationship with them is different, and so he's always in my heart. And anytime I want to go within and connect with him, he finds his way to show me he's around, and that's my belief, and that's helped me. That's helped me to, I guess, get on with life.
That's cool. Thank you.
All right.
I guess like just touching on Jessie, obviously being in Afghanistan, having such a purpose and being able to provide while you're over there, and then leaving that environment with all that trauma after like seeing some horrific shit, coming back and then like losing that identity of having a purpose and being a provider, that I can't imagine how hard that is for someone in that position. But then to also like have this label of PTSD or whatever else hindering you.
Yeah, absolutely.
How like obviously being someone in the space of counselling and having dealt with this in your relationship and now lobbying through the government, how do you see people in that position overcoming that? Or what advice could you give to anyone in that position?
I guess I've been really clear from the start in that I don't, like, I guess we were a vessel, like you said, for individuals who couldn't speak and didn't have, the confidence or the courage to speak up, or had tried so many times in the past and were just deflated by another lack of acknowledgement or email that didn't get responded to from the minister or the secretary or, department heads. But over time, people have found their strength and their courage to speak their truth then. And so, I guess my message to other people who are going through what we have is to try again, because the government are transforming and they are taking on, all the changes they need to from here on. And so I guess I'm trying to empower people to try again and to, know that as a community we can make change together. We're a one-person show, I guess, advocating for Jessie and, and what our story was and what was missed for us. But in that, it's allowed everybody else who also felt connected to that story, because that happened to them in some way or another, another veteran and their partner or family. And so the voices are coming forward, which is, so exciting for me, that that's happening. But I'm also getting messages, most days of somebody saying, Connie, my claim went through. It only took a week. It didn't take 300 days. And, I've been approved for this and I've been approved for that. And so I guess what we've been able to do is streamline a lot of the services. And it's not just myself, it's so many other people who are also coming forward. But collectively, I think we've all gone to the government at the right time. There was just too many suicides in 2017, and it was constantly in the media because we kept pushing for it. I think there was 90 something at one point that year alone. And, we're never going to change those statistics, but we can lessen them. We can put, supports and services and bridge those numbers. And at the end of that bridge, offer supports and services and be there collectively as a community to pick them up, when they're falling down. And to me, that's where I feel like we're starting to change as a government, as a nation. We're starting to really connect in with one another. And that's where my passion lies, in helping people to find their own voice, and because that's where their healing comes from too. You don't normally get an outcome when it comes to suicide. There's so much left that you're holding on to, and that's still there. But to be able to have a voice and to speak on behalf of somebody who you loved and who you lost as a result of this, and to make situations better for other people, that's something special, and that's something that I hold on to. So I guess we can just continue to hope for that.
Super powerful. Like you said that people are starting to find their strength, and you're hoping to empower people. I really think you are. I mean, you're probably one of the reasons people are finding their voice and their strength. So, I hope you have taken time to appreciate yourself and what you've done to change this, because literally with the lessening of that wait period between having it approved, you're changing lives.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I am. But I'll never be one to say I have. And it's not about me, it's just, and I think that's how I am as a person. I don't ever think about myself. This is what we do in the field of helping others, It's just, as long as you hear that feedback, like, I'm good. I can sleep at night to know that these people are have a forum to heal and to just get on with it. Man, that's a blessing for me. Like, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think we spoke beforehand about some of the stuff that you use to help you overcome what it is that you've been through. You said journaling, meditating, and reaching out to your family. Can you let us know how you implemented those?
Yeah. I guess for me, I've been journaling since I was a child, and now, lo and behold, we name it mindfulness, and we name it meditation, and, all of that stuff. So it's just, I've always gone within. And so if I've ever, even as a young person, had anything kind of going on, I just write out my feelings on a piece of paper and just express them as a way of just parking my thinking. And so I guess when in times of real anger and grief, especially with losing Jessie, sometimes I didn't want to speak to anybody, and sometimes I didn't have the energy to even verbalize what I needed to say. And it was a kind of safe space to just put my thoughts on paper, and just to actually, express my emotions and whatever I kind of needed to do. And so that was healing in itself. So and that's how I wrote Once Upon a Feeling years ago. I just put thoughts on paper. I was at a place where I just saw so many hurt kids, and I thought, man, I just got to write a book. I've got to write. I never knew what it was going to be, and the words just started pouring out, and I had it there. It's just I've never had the time or I guess opportunity to kind of link them both together and put it out there. But somebody came forward a few years ago and said, I heard you've written a book and, do you want to get it out there? And it's probably the worst time I could have probably done it, like in my state of grief. But in saying that, it was healing. It was such a healing journey, to put my energy into something and to have a focus. And although I was back at work and connected with friends and family and all that, it was so nice to see the book come to life, the illustrations and the words and what kind of an impact it could have on children. And, it's just awesome. It all came together at the right time. I'm a big believer in all that. I'm a big believer in, alignment and things happen at the right time. So, yeah, it's really cool.
So can you give us a quick breakdown of what the story's about?
Yeah. So Once Upon a Feeling is a story that actually rhymes, and it's the two characters, Big Bird and Little Bird. And Little Bird's on a journey to express his emotions. And so the story talks about how Little Bird might have a little bit of anxiety and he feels it in his tummy. But, Big Bird is there to help him. And so it explores some not necessarily verbal cues, more creative non-verbal cues. So creative expression, colouring, drawing, responding with all kinds of, creative ways to entice conversations around feelings and emotions. And it's aimed for children at the age of 4+. So you can start those foundation level conversations at a really young age. And children just, thrive around fun, creative ways, and kind of want to step away from technology, and just bring it back to a book, bring it back to an opportunity where children can just be focused in with one person and, start to connect on all that. So, yeah.
That's really, really cool. And that's really important, especially now in like a social media age.
Correct. I know. And, I thought, no, I'm not going to do like an audio book and make it some kind of cartoon thing. Like there's enough technology out there for kids, and that's just going to be the way. I mean, technology is where we connect now. I get it. But, I thought it's got to be a book because for me that helped me as a kid in my journaling of thoughts when I was younger. And it's a bit of a time capsule. Kids can look back at it over 10 years. It's their own little personal, thing they can look back at and go, oh, wow, I said this back then. Actually, I still use that now. Like that's how I still, communicate emotions. Or, oh, that's crazy. I felt like that back then. Wonder what that was about. So, just something fun and light just to help them on their journey.
Wow. That is 100% staying in alignment and true to yourself to give away going audio and video as well. That's hugely powerful, buddy.
Cheers, Lachlan. Cheers. I'm really excited about it. Even though I've been sick this week after the launch, I'm actually I'm still trying to like come down from cloud 9 to know it's out there, Like, oh, people are giving me feedback. The book's out. Oh, that's good, But it's, the launch on the weekend was so amazing, but no one had actually read the book yet. So it's that anticipation of, are people going to receive it well? What's the feedback going to be like? And but no, it's been good. You just got to like believe in it all,
How having something so close to your heart, how are you going about dealing with feedback, especially if it is negative feedback? Because I mean, that sort of fear stops people from ever doing anything.
Yeah. I haven't had it yet. So,
yay.
So I'm sure that's coming though, right? Look, everybody's allowed to have their opinion. That's cool. I think I'm really confident in the book because I know it's worked with kids and I've used it over the years. So, I mean, I'm open to people's opinions and whatever will come from it. That's cool,
And that's the best mindset to have.
Yeah, that's it. I'm on my journey, so that's it.
Okay, a few quick questions before we wrap up, buddy. Knowing everything that you've been through, going through the fire with your partner Jessie, and then now, obviously lobbying, changing some of that stuff and changing lives, allowing people to find their voice and their strength, and now being this author with this book that's hopefully going to impact kids super, super positively, what would you
Yeah.
say the quality of your life is like now?
Um, I think the quality of my life has always been pretty good in that I've always just done what I love and I'm passionate about. I think all I'll say now is that the scope of what I'm able to do is out there for more people. I think that's what gives me joy and that's what gives me happiness. And so, if nothing else, I'm just a happier girl right now.
Yes, you deserve it too.
Thanks, mate.
What have you added to your life or removed from it to improve the quality of it?
Added more self-care time, eh?
Yes.
Definitely didn't have a lot of that going on, a few years ago. But I think right now it's just about, making sure I've got that work-life balance. So I've got a few days free each week now that I can just, do all this fun stuff and, link in with kids and do all that, and still doing the counselling, still love that. But just on my journey, I guess, to just continue to share my story, my message, and in hope that I can, give that back to people, give that hope back, give that opportunity to just know that it's well, not opportunity, but give people the courage to know it's okay to speak up, hey, and it's all right to not be okay, but that we're all here for one another. It's a community connectedness. We've got to keep that going.
Yeah, and I think an important thing I forgot to touch on was when you said that when you were journaling, sometimes you just didn't feel like speaking to anyone. It's important for people to know when you're in the fire, when you're going through these lows, that it's okay to not want to speak to someone. You don't have to all the time. But if you find a practice like journaling or even just speaking aloud to yourself, that's going to help you in leaps and bounds.
Absolutely. Music, creative expression, all of that, people didn't understand when, they wanted to reach out to me just after Jessie had passed and I'd come back to Australia. They're like, let's go out for dinner or let's do all these things. I didn't want to walk down the street. I didn't want to see other people happy. I didn't have it in me to be around other people. Sometimes, you looking at somebody down the road laughing and moving on with life, you're not there, And so sometimes to be able to have that space to do that in an isolated, safe, haven, whether that's your home, whether that's just at a park or down by the beach, to just connect to whichever way you can. It's your journey, and you got to do it the way you know how.
Cool. What are you most grateful for right now?
What am I most grateful for? Oh, the breath I have every day, every moment to just get up. I know that's corny as hell.
It's not.
But it's true. It's true. I'm such a basic person in that, like, for me, it's having my friends and family happy and healthy. It's, having an opportunity to just get up every day and just continue to do what I love. Like, that's what it's all about, No fancy cars around here.
Yeah, that's so cool. Okay, so last question. If you had the chance to put a message on a billboard somewhere, thousands of people would see it every day, what would that message be?
Ooh, damn. Can I have a few?
Yeah.
One I've always loved is Carpe Diem, seize the day. That's one. But, I always feel like, we can all connect in and help one another as a community to really create change. So, it would be like just connect in with one another, and support one another, because we can make change as a community. We can create great change. So that would be my message.
Yeah, and that's super important, especially in the here and now with the mosque terror attack and seeing like some of the racism and bigotry that's going on at the moment. It's sad to see that.
Absolutely. But on the flip side, we've got religions combining, we've got people uniting, we've got, governments saying we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And, that's what it's about. We need to connect with each other on a heart level. That's how we all honestly, we should be going back to that. And I think we lost that at one point, over the decades, but we can always bring it back. And so I'm hopeful.
Yeah, and that's if we're cultivating self-awareness and honest enough with ourselves to relinquish the ego and whatever identities that separate us, then we can
absolutely
connect with hearts.
Absolutely, you're speaking my language.
Okay, I want to acknowledge you first of all for taking the time to do this. I missed our first phone call, and I was honestly way too scared to call you and tell you that I missed it and I forgot because I didn't want you to be angry at me. So
you're hilarious. No way. I know, no anger here. All good.
That's just my insecurity, but it's okay. But I want to acknowledge you for what you've been through, buddy, because I can't even imagine having to go through that. So you using that pain, turning it into power, and now helping other people through the lobbying, now through this book. I'm grateful that we have a vessel like you for that message, and I'm grateful that you have the voice and the platform that you do, because it's needed.
Lachlan, thank you, and hey, I appreciate you and what you're doing, because that takes a lot to be out there in this space talking about all of this. So you're helping a lot of people too to build that confidence and to come forward. So keep doing what you're doing too. Okay,
thank you. Where would people find your book before we
my website, so connieboglis.com, and there's a shop section there.
Cool.
So,
and I'll put it in the show notes too.
Cheers. Thanks,
you,
Lachlan.
Have an amazing day.
Cheers.
Hey.
You too. Bye. Bye.